So happy Halloween. Super excited. It's probably my favorite holiday. It's definitely my favorite holiday. I have multiple costumes. I'll decide what to wear based on what I'm doing and how I feel. But yeah, it's a good weekend. Getting ready. I was getting ready to go for a walk, and I thought, man, I really wished that I had something like this to listen to on my walk. And it's certainly not as satisfying because if you do the recording and then listen to yourself, it's really not the same. So if there's someone out there doing something similar to this, that would be awesome. I would love to find your stuff and listen to you read the internet to me. Anyways, it made me feel like, well, I still want to do a recording before I go for my walk. All right, so let's see. In France, police rush out to the people, expecting them to rush and create a stampede. No one moves, and the police are forced to back down. Oh. So there's a protest going on in France. I met some really cool French people. This girl from France that I really liked. Just this one person from France. And she was so lovely, and she was making fun of the French and just saying like, oh, we are the best at protesting and going on strike. We're always on strike. we are the best protesters and the best strikers. And I'm sure she's alluding to the French Revolution and the precedent that it set, and then how, each generation after is very adept in the power of protest and going on strike. She was making fun of how the French will go on strike for anything. They'll go on strike before something even happens. She was talking about, I think, maybe a railway. And before the railway even opened, the people that worked the railway went on strike, or maybe the day after or something like that. Let's see, what's next? An ad for North Face, game thread. Florida Medical Board votes to ban gender-affirming care for transgender minors. Not surprised. This whole thing about states' rights, hopefully people just leave those states. It's so frustrating when I think about how all of these states, like all 50 states, have to agree on stuff for certain things to happen. The whole Biden student loan forgiveness thing, how there's 6 states that are holding it up because they filed whatever lawsuit against the student loan forgiveness program. And it's like, well, if those 6 states don't like it, they don't have to participate. They can let their constituents not participate in the loan forgiveness program. And I want to add, like, those 6 states, let me look it up. Which states are against student loan forgiveness? And it's like states that do not contribute to taxes nearly enough. In fact, they're like welfare states because they just take money from California and New York. 6 states sued to block Biden's student loan forgiveness scheme. It's not a scheme. Anyways, let's see. Nebraska. Yeah, they definitely don't contribute enough taxes for them to be mad about this. It's like the money being used to forgive these loans is definitely not coming from you. Your state takes money. Same with Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, and South Carolina. I guarantee that those states don't contribute nearly enough in taxes. I mean, okay, let's look it up. I don't want to just say these things without backing it up. Okay, let's see. Each state's contribution to federal taxes. Or how about, well, let's look that up. Federal taxes. Let's see. Which state budgets rely the most on federal aid? October 17th, 2022. Good. It's recent. Okay. As Americans head to the polls or mail-in ballot drop boxes, voters will weigh in on their own state's financial health based on who they elect in state, local, and federal elections. To put states' financial health and potential impact on residents of those states into context, MoneyGeek analyzed and ranked states according to their dependence on federal government. Rankings found rankings account for political affiliation, net benefits individuals and organizations in the state receive, state government revenue from federal sources, and GDP per capita. Key findings. 7 of the 10 states most dependent on federal government were Republican voting, with the average red state receiving 1.05 per dollar spent. 29 states sent more to the federal government than they received, compared to just 9 states in 2021. Okay, so 29 states sent more to the federal government than they received. Of the states that sent more than they received, 52% were Democrat voting and 48% were Republican voting. New Mexico had the highest return on federal spending of any state, $3.69, and Delaware had the lowest, 32 cents. How much does your state depend on federal funding? Federal dependency score. So the more purple, the more dependent. The light purple is less dependent. So let's see. This state is, again, New Mexico. Federal funds as a percentage of state revenue. Well, let's go down to the rankings now. Okay, so New Mexico is number 1. West Virginia, Mississippi. Oh, let's go back to this list. So we're looking at Missouri, Nebraska, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, and South Carolina. So let's see. So New Mexico, West Virginia is next. Mississippi is 3rd. Alaska is 4th. Kentucky, Vermont, Montana, Arizona, Maine, Alabama, Louisiana, Wyoming, District of Columbia. There's South Carolina, number 14. So federal fund percentage of state revenue. So in South Carolina, 22% of their state revenue comes from the federal government. And they are against the student loan forgiveness scheme, and they certainly don't contribute enough. So their constituents don't need to benefit from loan forgiveness. Let's see. We still have Nebraska. Did I come across these states yet? Let's see. South Carolina. There's Arkansas, 28%. Let me go back up here. Federal fund percentage of states' revenues. Okay. Dependency score. Maybe that's what I should be looking at. Dependency score. New Mexico is 100% dependent on the federal government. And let's see. South Carolina is 37% dependent. Arkansas is 24% dependent. 28% of their state revenue comes from the federal government. Missouri, 21%. A quarter of their revenue comes from the federal government. I mean, these states are taking money for whatever programs, organizations, individuals, entities. And let's see. Nevada, 18%. What was the other one? Kansas. Kansas is right there. 18%. Nebraska, 18%. California, 17%, number 48 on the list. 49 is Illinois, 50 is Washington, 51 is New Jersey. And New York was number 36 on the list. All right, so those 6 states, you can just be left out, and then the rest of us can participate in this student loan forgiveness program. I don't know how I went down this rabbit hole. Let's close this tab and this one. Oh, yes. We were talking about states' rights. Yes, states, you have the right to not participate in taking money from everyone else. And for the transgender community in Florida, just leave Florida. Get out of there. That place sucks anyways. They're going to be underwater soon. During the hearing that resulted in this, a member of the board admitted that they had also discussed a state registry for transgender people, proving that none of this was particularly for just the safety of minors. So they don't want to track guns because they're terrified that would let government control, ban, or otherwise do things to gun owners, but they're fine with tracking children. They absolutely want to track and ban guns, just not yet. They just need the artificially outraged, ignorant cultists to do the heavy lifting of usurping democracy first. If they get their wish, guns will be the first thing they'll move to take away after taking power. Guns tend to be the first thing fascists track and ban when they get power, after all, regardless of what they claim prior. Let's see. You'd think board member Zachariah P. Zachariah would have better perspective about not forcing bad ideas onto children. I was in the Navy with a guy named David Davidson III. He was one of the dumbest human beings I've ever encountered. Let's see. The guidance drew backlash from LGBTQ advocates and medical experts. Accredited medical groups, including the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Psychological Association, have supported gender-affirming care for transgender youths. Yeah, just leave Florida. It's a shithole state. Let's go back. Let's see. Is America, USA really that bad a place to live? Oh, I haven't traveled enough places to say that. In my travels, I will say that the most friendly tourists that I meet are Americans. But then again, the places that I travel to are probably very, my sample size is, what's the word I'm looking for? Of the places that I choose to travel, the other Americans traveling to those places probably have similar values to my own, and therefore it's like a very biased, sample size. Let's see. America is fucking huge. Correct. It's huge and it's beautiful. We have beautiful geography, amazing climate. We have microclimates in San Francisco. There's multiple climates in one city. And again, of the places that I travel to, whenever I run into American tourists there, they're always so friendly and kind and polite, and they just make you feel so much better when you're abroad, especially traveling solo. So America is fucking huge, OP, and in this huge-ass country is a myriad of good and bad neighborhoods. Thanks for all the happy cake day posts, dudes and dudettes, and thanks for the awards too. I thank my mama for putting me on this earth to point out how huge some countries are. Oh. And the bad neighbors are the most vocal by far. Here in the UK, many people are brainwashed by the media and stereotypes and think all of the USA is like some crazy dangerous place. I tell people I'm going to the USA, have been a few times and plan to go again, and they're seriously not joking. Aren't you afraid of being shot? And of course, what they are missing is that the USA is absolutely huge and very varied. Back to OP's question. I'm British and I've always had an obsession with the USA. When I was a little kid, I used to show off by naming all the states and stuff. Oh, I'm trying to migrate over there in the next few years. I know this isn't a popular opinion on this thread, but I personally would prefer life in the US to the UK. The US has its problems, especially things like healthcare, work-life balance, etc., which would be my main worries about going there. Bye-bye to the 33 days of paid holiday every year that is standard here in the UK. But for me personally, the American geography is what attracts me more than anything. I absolutely love hotter climates that large areas of the US have. Also, I'm attracted to more of an agricultural outdoors style of living, and that is much more accessible for the average person in USA versus here. The nature is absolutely breathtaking, and it's so geographically big and diverse that you can experience pretty much every single biome in the entire world in a single country. Yeah. I think that there's, I can go snowboarding in the wintertime in Tahoe. And then if I just, decide to head down to San Diego, I can go surfing in the same week. Maybe I'm snowboarding on a Monday and then I head to San Diego on a Friday and now I'm surfing. It's pretty magnificent to be able to do all of that. Let's see. My dream is a rural home somewhere like Oklahoma. Don't go to Oklahoma. Ew. Okay. I'm so biased. Working a hands-on outdoors type of job with a bit of land, horses, chickens, cows, etc. I prefer the people of Colorado, and there's plenty of that in Colorado. Plus, you have hot weather and cold weather. You have snow and mountains and rivers. It is landlocked, so no ocean, which is a big deal breaker for me. I need to have access to the ocean and to the mountains and to the snow. Anyways, back to this. A nearby river or lake for fishing and swimming without worrying as much about pollution or sewage. You get the picture. Not saying that's impossible to achieve here in the UK, but it seems much harder to achieve. Most of these points stem from the fact that here in England, we have 56 million people crammed into an area approximately the size of Mississippi State. Everyone in the reply is slagging off Oklahoma. Haha. Oklahoma was just a random example, not my planned destination. If I got a visa right now, I think I'd try somewhere in, no, don't do New Mexico. They're 100% dependent on federal aid. Arizona or Texas. Texas, I mean, the only place I could live in Texas is Austin. And even Austin is kind of, it's too much. It's so extra in Austin. I do like in Austin, they have Barton Springs, and it's like you can be topless if you want to be, and no one's going to give you a hard time. But anyways, don't do Texas either, or Arizona. Definitely just do like Colorado, or maybe Southeast like Georgia. If I was going to do the South, I would do South Carolina or North Carolina. One of the Carolinas, not Georgia. Also, you people complaining about hot weather, you maybe don't know how lucky you are. Try here in northern UK not seeing the sun from October to March every year because we're on the same latitude as Juneau, Alaska. I'd take hot over dark gray, and depressing. Yeah, no, I spent 1 year in Pennsylvania and didn't see the sun for like 9 months. And then I was like, oh, summertime's here. It's June. And June is awesome. June 21st is the longest day of the year. It's summertime. It's supposed to be great. June in Pennsylvania from 2014 to 2015. Sorry, I screwed that up. For that year, okay, going back, June in 2015 in Pennsylvania, where I was staying, had like 21 days of rain. Something ridiculous. It rained so much. I didn't get to see the sun, even in June. Let's see, edit number 2. Thanks a lot for all the suggestions and comments. Lots of people recommending Pennsylvania. Okay, again, there's very little sunshine in Pennsylvania. 9 months of winter. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm literally struggling to read them all at this point, although I have indeed read every suggestion. So maybe hold off on any more suggestions. I will be doing lots of research. Thanks for being so welcoming. I do think that Americans are very welcoming. Or maybe the Reddit communities, I don't know. Anyways, there's so much bias and sample sizing issues. But yeah, when I'm traveling, Americans are very welcoming in the places that I'm traveling to. I will be doing lots of research. Thanks for being so welcoming. I never thought I'd be one of those annoying Redditors who edits their posts to add stupid stuff on at the end, but here we are. I work partly in ranching, and it's funny to see someone glamorize my lifestyle. I mostly get made fun of and treated like an uneducated hick. I love my lifestyle, though, for the most part. Of course, there are some grass is always greener things, but a lot of people who get the chance to experience it seem to enjoy it. I think I would enjoy it, but I don't know. I would enjoy it for part of the year. I couldn't enjoy it year-round, I don't think. And I don't think that they're uneducated hicks. Like, I know that those people are capable and smart. Well, some of them. I guess some of them. There's variability in everything, but I know some pretty smart ranchers. Let's see. Thank you, Queen Stroganoff. Good old Queef. Oh, no. Salt of the earth, that Queef. Queef saved my life once. Oh, thank you, Reddit. People from urban areas almost exclusively tremendously overestimate their ability to adapt to life and work in a rural area with harsh climate. Yeah, I could do it for part of the year. I definitely couldn't do it for the whole year. Source, I live and work in a rural area with a harsh climate, and it's basically all I see from incomers. Many half-finished projects and poorly maintained farms and houses litter the area because someone coming from an office job in a place with better weather and public infrastructure didn't realize how bad the weather can be, how much maintenance a rural house needs, or how much physical work and skills a building project requires. Yeah, people who don't overestimate their abilities in this way don't tend to randomly move to rural areas, so your experience is somewhat biased, but I think you're entirely correct otherwise. Let's see. Depends on where. Most everyone's covered what I wanted to say, but you really start to feel the shit when you're living in poverty. Money's the answer to everything here. And that is correct. God, even just health insurance or going into disastrous, catastrophic debt from medical bills. Just that alone is honestly really horrendous, especially when I look at the actual cost of things and then the markup that we put on things to be able to appease the insurance gods, and the fact that healthcare administration's grown by like 300% versus like the growth of physicians has only been like 10%. So who are these people administrating? You know, you can't have all this growth in administration and then have no one to manage, because the growth of the people that you're managing hasn't kept up with the growth of management. That was really... Anyways. Agreed, but that is true basically anywhere. Being poor in any African country, in Indian slums, or in Central South America is worse. In the USA, at least you have the slight chance to move up in the world, or to go to a new state and try something new. Somalians, you're born poor, you die poor, and you'll never see a dime in your lifetime. For most, unfortunately. It's a good reminder. So yeah. I'd much rather be poor in the US than what is considered poor in a lot of countries in said countries. My parents were skeptic before their trip to the United States. They were worried about crime, racism, we are Indians, and, well, guns. After their month-long trip, they concluded that news from America seems too sensationalized. It's a wee bit hype. Yep. They were pleasantly surprised. Every interaction from coffee shops, locals, tour bus guides, can drivers, staff at restaurants, and daily interaction with locals was extremely nice. They tell me that Americans seem to be the most warmest people. They didn't feel such warmth during their month-long Europe trip, which was the Alps, super nice, by the way. They can't stop talking about it also. Also, US is absolutely amazing to travel. They have got snow, mountains, desert, and a lot more. Me and the missus look forward to our own trip. This doesn't answer the question, and I'm aware of it, but just saying that our opinions could be blindfolded by the news. Yeah. And I like that they said they didn't feel such warmth from the Europeans. I know, like, it's... So, like, you run into the travelers from all these other countries and you have, like, your favorites and then your, like, least favorites. And, yeah, there's definitely tourists from other places that are very just kind of, I guess the word is annoying. Like, ugh, I could do without X tourist from X country or whatever. I know that's, like, racism. But in my experiences, there are certain countries where the tourists from those countries are kind of insufferable. Let's see. For all of our faults, having foreign visitors is very exciting for most of us. Being welcoming to strangers and making sure they have a good time is weirdly thrilling. I never realized that was our reputation until these Reddit threads. I love making tourists happy. Seeing a couple trying to take a selfie to encompass their surroundings in a tourist place, ask if they'd like a pic or two of them. 99% of the time, they are thrilled. Me too. I have please help me with directions face, apparently. One of my favorite interactions was helping these Italian tourists get to the metro and help them choose what passes worked best for their trip. I decided to walk with them to the metro because the closest stop was about 6 blocks away, and they said they'd just arrived a half hour ago. Helping people just gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling. Yeah, I agree. I enjoy that too. Last night I was at a theme park just for a couple hours, because I have a season pass, so I can do that. And then these two guys, definitely tourists with like heavy accents, they're like, "Where's the entrance to the theme park?" And I was like, "Oh, just come with me, keep going this way." And just chatted with them about their trip and how excited they were to come to this theme park to celebrate Halloween. So yeah, it is nice to help tourists out. And I know that I always appreciate it when people help me and make me feel welcome when I'm abroad. It's a great place to live, just an awful place to be poor. Wow, dead on. That is correct. Isn't that the case everywhere, though? A lot better to be poor in America than India. Yes, also correct. But on the other hand, it's better to be poor in Canada or Australia or most European countries than America. There are worse places to be poor than the US, but there are also better places. Correct. It is a spectrum. What was the original question? Is America really that bad a place to live? No, it's not that bad a place to live. It could always be better. It could always be worse. What's your main reason for not having more sex? I'm so picky. I'm selective. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like having sex with douchebags, and there seems to be a lot of douchebags out there, so I'd rather have sex with myself. Log in to confirm you're over 18. Oh, I have to log in for this now? Rude. Never mind. But yeah, that's my main reason, is that I'd rather have sex with myself than some asshole. And yeah. Yeah. Why would I not have, and this is speaking as if I was a single person. If I was a single person, if I was single, my main reason for not having more sex with people would be just that there's so many fucking asshats out there. Let's see. And okay, going back to, I actually have more to say about this. What's your main reason for not having more sex? Okay, so one, there's a lot of assholes out there and I'd rather have sex with myself. Two, sometimes it's very underwhelming. Like, there's plenty of people out there that don't make an effort to like please their partner, and so it's very underwhelming. So it's like I have to go out of my way to date some guy that's probably a douchebag, and then I have to go out of my way to be cute and look nice and do all these things to go out of my way to please this person, and then he doesn't really make an effort to please me. It's like such a shitty deal. So yeah, they could be really bad in bed. They don't make enough of an effort. They don't care about your pleasure. They don't care about you, ultimately. Like, and I would have a lot more sex if guys made an effort to do fun things outside of the bedroom to begin with, because the intimacy is what makes sex good, or great, or mind-blowing, whatever word you want to use. Without that intimacy, it kind of sucks for me. Like, having just boring, meaningless sex, I could have that with myself. But connecting with me outside of the bedroom, making an effort to do things with me, having these common interests, and really essentially common values more than interests, having common shared values and valuing quality time and enjoying the same types of, like, you know, snowboarding, surfing, riding roller coasters, going to comedy shows, concerts, just going for a walk outside to get a cup of coffee, like, you know, and then there's those little tiny moments at home that are meaningful too. All of that kind of adds up to having great sex. And so, yeah, there's very few people to connect with in that way. But if that was the opposite, if there was lots of people that you could connect with them that way and they made an effort and made you feel special, then yeah, I would have a lot more sex. I really wish I could read these comments, but I really don't want to log in. Download the app to use anonymous browsing. Why do you want to know everything about me, internet? Let's see. We saw that one. 6'9" compared to 5'1". Oh. See. Russia says British Navy personnel blew up Nord Stream gas pipelines. Whoa, they did this? I remember they had put those people in jail that were flying their drones over essential like infrastructure in different countries in Europe. So I knew that they had arrested people that were flying these drones. And now Russia says British Navy personnel blew up Nord Stream gas pipelines. Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. It's like the other day they said that Russia said that that Ukraine had dirty bombs they were going to use on their own people. So, you know, if there's a dirty bomb exploded in Ukraine, we know that it was Ukraine that did it and not us. What the fuck? Okay, let's see. Yes, a superb way for Britain to force Germany into an open market for fuel, driving up prices massively for themselves, and the rest of Europe to plunge their country into an even more dire economical position. Excellent plan. It was the Queen's plan. They faked her death so she could deniably lead the daring commando assault herself. It's too bad she needed to stay behind and detonate the explosive charges manually. Died peacefully on Thursday afternoon at her Scottish estate. Typical cover story. We never saw the body. Russia says it totally has a girlfriend. You can't talk to her, though, because she lives in Canada. Yeah, am I to assume that Russians are this fucking stupid to think that that anyone believes any of this? Okay. You know, I met this really nice Russian person. I met one nice Russian person when I was traveling. The rest of them were not very pleasant. But one of them was kind, and I remember we had lunch together, and he was really sweet. But all the other Russians that I ran into were quite rude and cold and not pleasant to be around. Let's see. It's absolutely wild that people can just work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 50 odd years and not realize that there's something deeply fucking wrong with it. Yeah, there is something deeply fucking wrong with it. I hate it. I would rather be poor, and I'm not poor. I'm doing well. I am. I could be more rich, but it would require me to sell my soul and just be so unhappy just for money. And then even if I did work hard and make a bunch of money, I would get taxed to high hell. Like, the amount of money that I would have to give up in taxes so that states like South Carolina and New Mexico could hold the rest of the country back from progress. The amount of money that I would have to pay in taxes to support these red states and walking the fuck all over everybody just would make me so angry. So I choose to earn less money. I choose to earn just enough money to enjoy my life. Instead of being super ambitious and making a shit ton more, I'm like, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with just enough to go snowboarding and surfing and travel. I mean, that's a great life. That's really good, actually. So yeah, I earn just enough to maintain the lifestyle that I want. And if I was ever in a real shithole, I could earn more. But yeah, the idea of all my taxes going to help these assholes, it's infuriating. Let's see. Our cruise came to a standstill after finding these castaways in the middle of the Atlantic. Oh my God. Wait, what is that? Wow. I think last year or so in Greece, a young kid, 4 years old or so, got blown away on one of those inflatable flamingos, and she was found by a ferry a few hours later, somehow still floating on the flamingo. I think it's already a couple years ago this happened. It immediately came to my mind just seeing this post. This tiny little girl on that wobbly plastic flamingo floating on the open sea really got to me. It's absolute nightmare fuel. For sure. Ugh. Yeah, probably doesn't swim in the sea anymore, that kid. I just watched a talk with famous big wave surfer Laird Hamilton, and he said he got swept away to sea in Hawaii so many times as youth that he lost his fear of drowning and figured he'd get back safe even in the biggest waves. He lost his fear of drowning, figured he'd get back safe, even the biggest of waves. I mean, I guess if you've got your surfboard to stay afloat, but still. Not related to drowning, but Jack Dutton got attacked by 2 sharks at once in South Africa, the only double attack caught on camera, and he has only surfed in cold water ever since. Lots of great whites in cold water, hence why they're on the California coast and coast of South Africa. That said, there's no fucking way I'd surf where there are great whites, as from below a surfer really looks like a seal. So I go swimming on the coast of California, but I try to stay away from areas where there's sharks. But I do enjoy swimming in the ocean a lot. And you know, so one of the things I really want to do is I want to complete one of those free diving courses, and maybe someday I'll be a master free diver. I don't know. But the idea of diving to such great depths in the ocean, and one of my friends said it best. The person that kind of exposed me to this, he said that once he was some ridiculous depth, like 50 meters, which I think is ridiculous. I guess other free divers don't, but 50 meters, that's like 150 feet. And he was saying that once he was at that depth, he like looked around in the ocean and thought to himself, well, what is there to be afraid of? What is left? What is left in the world for you to be afraid of? This is probably one of the scariest environments and positions you could be in. And what else do you have to be afraid of? Nothing. So that sounds very empowering and just like a really cool experience. I don't know if I want to do 50 meters, but I would like to do some more free diving and diving in general. Let's see. In 2018, I was on a cruise when a man overboard call went out. A member of housekeeping spotted someone treading water through a cabin porthole. We all assumed it was a passenger from our vessel, so the ship stopped and they searched for 2 hours before they found him. Once he was rescued, we learned he was actually an employee from another cruise ship that had passed the day before. That ship searched for him, but eventually gave up. He was treading water for 24 or so hours when we happened to spot him. He was dehydrated and exhausted, but otherwise okay. Absolutely wild that he made it that long and that he was even spotted. What a fucking nightmare. Like, yeah. I can't imagine treading water and floating and treading water and floating and just hoping and praying that someone would come by and just being in the open sea. I will say that, okay, so the times that I went swimming in open sea, like out, like off of a boat, you know, the boat's out in the sea, I jump off the boat and go swimming, and you do float a lot in salt water, but still the idea of being out there overnight and swimming and floating and treading water for 24 hours, it is absolutely a nightmare. People that fall overboard on cruise ships are rarely recovered alive. Around 20 people fall overboard each year, and only a handful are recovered alive. Their survival rate is around 20%. It takes miles for the ships to stop and turn, at which point the victim has often drifted away or went beneath the surface. Add any amount of waves or cold water or nighttime, and it's basically impossible. I've heard a guy in the Navy talk about how when they do man overboard drills, you're supposed to have a few people whose whole job it is to do nothing but look and point at the dummy they toss in the water to help make sure they stay in sight. They were talking about how even on a pretty calm day in the Mediterranean, you could easily lose track of someone despite a dozen or more people all staring at them. Most of the time, someone would keep track or they'd locate them in the water again. But if it was rainy with some waves, they'd lose the dummy a disturbing amount of time, apparently. The number one lesson that everyone learned from these drills was to never go overboard in the first place. Even if someone sees you go overboard, there isn't any guarantee you get rescued. If someone doesn't notice you've gone over for even a few minutes and the weather is shit, forget about it, you're done. But that's so interesting. There's people designated to keep an eye on you, and they could still lose track of you. I was in the U.S. Navy, and I can say that it was made perfectly clear to us that falling overboard was almost a certain death. My dad was honorably discharged from the Navy after sleepwalking off the side of his ship somewhere in the Pacific. He said he woke up halfway down into the water, and the worst feeling he's ever felt was watching the lights of the ship getting farther and farther away. Thankfully, there was someone sneaking a smoke on deck, and he was able to sound the alarm. Still, I can't imagine just being alone in the middle of the damn ocean like that. They're lucky you came across them. Yeah. Ugh. Let's see. Ooh, I do like the subreddit for programming. Sometimes they're really funny. It's funny little nerds. Let's see. Twitter engineers asked to print out their last 30 to 60 days of code and to be ready for pairings with Musk. What? I have come into possession of Twitter information so silly that I have no choice but to write a bonus Friday newsletter. Here it is. Twitter engineers were told today to print out their last 30 to 60 days of code so they could show it to Elon Musk himself. Then they were told, wait, no, actually, please shred all that code you just printed out. Slack message obtained by platformer. Please be ready. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Close. But you know what? Let's go to their actual just subreddit because I like their stuff sometimes. Their whole job supported by Google searches. Okay. And I'm not dissing it because I do the same thing. Rest in peace, Kathleen Booth, the inventor of assembly language. Require Elon Musk to complete a FizzBuzz test in front of Twitter engineers. I forget what a FizzBuzz test is, but I remember learning about it when I did like a a Python 3 course in like Udemy, and yeah, that's funny. Advanced Programming, a complete guide to program in C++. I built a decentralized serverless peer-to-peer private chat app that's open source, ephemeral, and runs entirely in the browser. Where's the memes? The R programming memes. Oh, maybe it's Programmer Humor. I screwed it up. Let's see. Programmer Humor. Yeah, that one. Okay. Not the same as programming. Let's see. Memes and jokes about everything programming and CS. Let's see. Let the IDE wars continue. What is that where you like write your code? I forget what it's called. Something development environment. What did I use? I can't remember. Let's see. My brain when choosing a variable name. My brain when choosing an iterable name. Oh, I guess I would get that more if I knew more about programming. Let's see. Guys, there's a problem in my code. Anti-aliasing in real life. CSS tutorial. Let's see. Oh, cool. Okay. Is this an appropriate Halloween costume? IT manager includes empty promises, forced overtime, hires outside versus promoting those eager to move up. Bonus, doesn't consider any suggestions or complaints from staff. Free pizza, very limited. Let's see. Tesla engineers visit Twitter review code for Musk. Casually scans 800,000 lines of code. Let's see. Developing in Python isn't stressful at all. John, 26 years old. Oh, okay. I like these ones too. Maybe if I work hard, go above and beyond, never use sick or vacation days, the company will notice and appreciate. Let's see. Me, I'm always going to code for fun, even after I start working. Also me. One of my direct reports is being pulled into a legacy C++ project, and well, let's see. Well-written code is self-documenting. You don't need comments. But the code is not documenting or well-written. Let's see. Never trust a motherfucker who names his variables BCHSDJ. Let's see. Let's see. Now that's spooky. End user. Greasy keyboard included. End user. Hasn't tried turning it off and on again. Thinks the browser is the internet. Won't submit a ticket. Will call everyone until someone answers. Needs instant gratification. Uptime 37170128. I like these silly little memes. Okay, let's go back to the regular Reddit or the main Reddit or whatever. Popular. Oh, maybe we should go to, let's see. What are some examples where both the book and the movie were excellent? It's common to say the movie was okay, but the book was amazing. Or the movie was awesome, but the book sucked. I've never heard anyone say that. Without examples where both the movie... What about the examples where both the movie and the book were both great? I'm not a big reader, so I don't have too many comparisons, but I think Jurassic Park is a good example. The movie is probably my favorite film of all time, and the book is also an excellent read. Misery. Yeah, that was really good. I haven't read the book, but the movie was really good. No Country for Old Men. A near literal translation from page to screen. Yeah, maybe. I have read No Country for Old Men, and I have seen the movie. Yeah, the book's definitely better. Let's see. Matilda. I haven't read the book, but I saw the movie and I liked it. Arrival. and then Story of Your Life, Silence of the Lambs. Arrival movie did a great job with something in the book I thought would be unfilmable. Arrival is probably the best sci-fi in a very long time. Spoiler ahead. I did love Arrival, and I didn't even know that it was a book, so now I'll have to check out the book. Holes, it's pretty much a perfect adaptation with a lot of the lines taken word for word right out of the book. The only difference is Stanley's weight. Because the director didn't want a kid to have to put on and then lose a drastic amount of weight, it's the best book adaptation I've ever seen. Yeah, the director didn't want a kid to have to put on and then lose a drastic amount of weight. With all the horror stories about child stars, it's always nice to read about a director that gives a shit. Yeah. Trainspotting. I remember that movie, and it was good, but I also hated it. It was so disturbing for me to watch. I didn't like watching it because the content was too much for me. I'm a big old baby, is what I'm saying. Enjoyed the book more, but The Martian. Movie was a great adaptation, but it leaves out a lot of little quips Mark makes in his journal that make the book great to read. The Princess Bride, Old Yeller, Of Mice and Men, The Green Mile. Another movie that I have a hard time watching is The Green Mile. It's a great movie, but God, To Kill a Mockingbird, great book. I don't think I've ever watched the movie. Jurassic Park. Yeah, I think it's even more impressive considering the movie makes a ton of changes from the book. I think the reason they both work so well is because of those changes. The way the idea is explored in the book only works for a book and vice versa. It's an excellent example of adaptation because the filmmakers made the right changes to make the story work for a different medium. The Jurassic Park adaptation is a movie in its own right, not just a novel squished into a movie. I do like that. I like it when they know how to do that correctly. Okay. I think I'm going to be done soon, but I wanted to check one more subreddit that I've been enjoying is the best Reddit or updates. Let's see. This is kind of fun sometimes. Let's see. My granddaughter, 16-year-old girl, has changed and is isolating herself from us. I think she might be a lesbian, but is afraid of telling us because we are religious Christians. How to tell her that we accept her. I could read that story, but let's see what else. Oh, and it's concluded? Well, let's just read the conclusion. Before I start, I'd like to say that English is not my first language, therefore I'm sorry for any mistakes in advance. My granddaughter, quote-unquote Lynn, lives with me. I'm a 67-year-old man, and my wife is 62, and she's been living with her grandparents since she was 4 years old. Our daughter, her mother, and her father died in a car accident, and we took her in. Oh, so sad. But lastly, Lynn has become very isolated and rude to us. I don't mean with this that she always has to respect us, but we are older. Because this, in my opinion, is a stupid concept. But she sometimes calls us names without any reason or refuses to talk to us or eat anything my wife or I cooked. I should probably mention that me and my wife are Christians and religious. Lynn is not, but we accepted that a long time ago. 2 days ago, some packages for my wife were delivered to the door, and I opened the door. Suddenly, my granddaughter comes basically flying down the stairs, grabs one of the packs, and runs up to her room. Lynn leaves for a walk with the dog, and when I bring the items away to the bathroom, I catch a look through her door, and see a rainbow flag hanging on the wall. I'm not someone who likes snooping in people's rooms, so I hold back myself from further investigating her room, and when she comes home, I don't say anything. I told my wife and that I thought she might be a lesbian, but my wife reminded me that my daughter never ever brought anyone home or mentioned anyone, and pretty obviously is not interested in girls. I should also mention that Lynn recently cut her hair short and started coloring it, something that's normal for teen girls, I guess. I don't know. My wife neither. I think we both are just too old and born too long ago to really relate to our granddaughter a lot. There's another thing my wife noticed, because I usually don't notice such things, but she told me that Lynn started wearing less dresses and skirts and boy clothes, meaning the shirts you find in the boys' department in the store. I don't really mind, but when I saw the rainbow flag, I realized that maybe all these changes have something to do with her being a lesbian. Maybe she didn't tell us because she thinks we will not accept her because we are Christians. And both me and my wife were sadly raised in a very homophobic times and environments. But humans can change, and although we may be old, we are not stupid, and changed our mind over the years. Me and my wife definitely will accept Lynn. We love her, and I don't care whom our granddaughter loves, as long as she's happy. How can I tell that to Lynn without giving off that I snooped in her room? I obviously didn't really search her room, but I suppose the rainbow flag was not meant for my eyes. TLDR, I accidentally saw a rainbow flag. Okay, anyways, we already read it. Update. It says, first of all, thank you everyone for tons and tons of advice we got, and thank you so much for all the help, support, and offers to explain a lot about the LGBTQ plus community to me and my wife. This really helped us so much. So long story short, Lynn came out as non-binary and bisexual. They told us that in German, they prefer male pronouns. We don't have a neutral pronoun. And neutral nouns for themselves, and in English, they prefer the pronoun they. So I'll try to go with this one. I apologize if I happen to use the wrong pronouns, but I've used she for 16 years, and me and my wife are trying hard to get used to it, though, because we want our grandchild, I think that's a neutral form, to be happy. Okay. The long story. Someone advised me to ask around in our community for the other LGBTQ plus people, and this was a good idea. We found out that close to us there is a trans boy, from girl to boy, I don't know if there's a word to describe that, living, and I decided to use this as a conversation starter. So they're talking about Lynn. So when Lynn came down the stairs for dinner, I just decided to ask Lynn, did you know that Sam is trans? I absolutely support him. He looks so happy. And my wife nodded. Lynn looks at us in shock, then surprise, then starts crying and just says, I know. 5 minutes later, she came out to us as bisexual and non-binary. They said they've thought about new names because they feel like the old one doesn't really fit them, but they didn't find a good name, so we're currently searching for a new name. I don't fully understand the concept of feeling like something between a woman and a man, because that's how Lynn told us they feel. But as long as our grandchild is happy, me and my wife will do everything we can to support them. We will protect them. We know that there are a lot of homophobes in this world, and sadly also among other Christians. This is not okay and never will be. To my fellow homophobic Christians in my private messages, you don't go to hell for being queer, just like you don't go to heaven for being heterosexual or cisgender. Thank you. Thank you everyone again for the advice. It really helped a lot. Me and my wife sure will still have to learn a lot about the LGBTQ plus community, and we will help our grandchild wherever we can. And by the way, I showed Lynn this post, and they agreed to take name suggestions from you guys. If anyone has a good idea, please tell us. They'd prefer a masculine or neutral name. Thank you again. The grandchild came out as NB. Please use they, them pronouns. Oh, okay, so now this person is NB. I don't know if I like the name NB, but good for them. Yeah, that was really sweet. All right. I need to get out of here. I need to go for my walk. I'm going to go for my walk, but let's just read this really fast. Okay. Am I the asshole for not wanting a ring my fiance already gave to another girl? No, you are not the asshole. He should get rid of that ring and get you a new one. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't read it, but I'm going to say no, you're not the asshole. Am I the asshole for comparing my dad to my stepdad after he kept comparing me to my older brother? OP ruins Thanksgiving. There's so much good stuff in here. I gotta go and go for this walk, because if I don't go for a walk, then I don't get enough physical activity. And if I don't get enough physical activity, I'll become depressed. Okay. Bye everyone. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope you listen to this when you go for a walk or something like that. And I wish I could find something basically just like this for me on my walks, where it's someone else reading to me. Anyways, happy Halloween. Bye.